Hey folks, welcome back to Board Game Blender. My name is Zee Garcia and it is springtime. It is time for the flowers to bloom, it is time for the trees to grow, and it's also a great time to play some board games. We're going to be taking a look at games inspired by springtime, bright, beautiful games, games with flowers, games with gorgeous fruits, all sorts of things like that. And so hopefully you'll find at least one game that catches your eye, piques your interest. Go out and check it out, all right? As always, thank you for tuning in. Here we go.
Hey there, I'm John from JonGetsGames, and spring is in the air today as we're discussing nature in our board games. And specifically, I'd like to discuss 3 different games that have a beautiful art style that really show you how beautiful nature can really be. The first of these games is Arboretum, and in this game you are planting trees in a garden. You're trying to make the best path. The entire game is composed of a big deck of cards that has 10 different suits of trees in it, and they all are gorgeously illustrated. I had no idea that some of these trees could be so pretty. In fact, I never even heard of many of the trees in this deck, and I just really enjoy as I'm playing it. The mechanics are totally solid. It's a tight, elegant card game that can be a bit intense, honestly, but you can also just pull back and look at these gorgeous cards that are in your hand, and you look at the tableau that you have in front of you, and you can kind of imagine what it would be like to walk amongst the trees that you have put out in front of you, and how beautiful it would really be to walk next to this kasha tree and this jacaranda tree. It's just a beautifully illustrated game. The second game highlights what those trees can make, and that is fruit. And this game is Paimon Flamen, which is all about making a set collection of various different types of fruit in the game. You have like oranges and apples and figs and plums and a bunch of these different ones, and it's got an interesting trick-taking set collection vibe to it, but the art is stunning in this game, and it has a great aesthetic where you actually see a cross-section cut out from every single piece of fruit, so you can see what it looks like inside it. It's supposed to have, I think, a bit of an observed scientific nature to it, because you also have pie cards in it, like 3.14. It's a very odd little game, but it's gorgeous when you're just looking at these cards in your hand and you're playing them down. You're thinking about the mechanics, but you're also thinking about how beautiful the cards are. And the last game highlights an animal that likes to eat all those fruits that are in Paimon Flamen, and that would be birds in Birds of a Feather. This game is a fully simultaneous kind of a filler game where you are going bird watching. You're trying to find all the best birds. You're trying to be the best bird watcher, the person who saw the most birds in the most different habitats. It's a simultaneous action game that is very easy to play, but the art is just stunning on these cards. It has a wonderful illustrated aesthetic where you really feel like you are in that setting. It's not just an illustration of a bird. It's an illustration of a bird in the specific habitat where it likes to live. Is it kind of on the ground, or is it flying in the air? Does it like to be up in a tree? And it is a beautiful game. You are thinking about what card you want to play and what bird you want to see, and you're really thinking about, well, you can be if you like to, that you would love to see this bird. You put it down and you mark off your little score sheet, but you also can just look around at all the gorgeous birds that every single person is playing down in each turn. So that about wraps it up. It's great to see these games that have stunning artwork in them that also allows you to bring in mechanics such as bird watching, fruit picking, and planting trees that are actually satisfying gaming experiences.
Hi everybody! Sometimes when I see the topic for Blender, I kind of struggle to figure out what I want to cover, but for this week's episode, there was no question. I had to highlight Hitohira, because what could be more spring-like than a game about collecting cherry blossoms? Now, before we take a look at the game, let me get the bad news out of the way. Unfortunately, Hitohira is hard to find because outside of Asia, we have to rely on some online retailers to buy copies in Japan to resell. But I hope the peek at this game piques your interest into tracking it down or into looking into other gaming treasures from Japan. Designed by Hinata Origuchi and published by Uyon, Hitohira is the most serene push-your-luck game around. The mechanisms are dead simple since all you're doing is drawing cherry blossoms from a bag. But really, the game is mostly in trying to track what opponents are doing with their blossoms and manipulating the flowers for advantageous scoring. There are 4 primary locations for a blossom: in the bag, currently drawn, in your field, or behind your screen, and blossoms will score behind your screen and in your field at the end of the game. In Hitohira, players take turns drawing blossoms from the bag. You can make up to 3 pulls and can grab up to 8 blossoms in those draws. This is where that pushing your luck comes in. If you draw 3 of the same color or 5 different colored blossoms, you fail in the draw. You get to set aside 2 blossoms for your field, but the rest go back into the bag, and you don't get to take advantage of one of those available abilities. Speaking of abilities, for each game there are 3 available abilities. If you get 4 different colored blossoms, you can move a blossom from your field to behind your screen. If you get 2 colored pairs, you can trade a blossom from your field or your current draw pile with a piece from another player's field. And if you manage to get at least 6 blossoms, you can draw 2 flowers from the pouch and place them into your field, behind your screen, or into another player's field. If you're successful in your draw, meaning you stop drawing before you fail, or you complete 3 draws without failing, you get to move a blossom behind your screen, and you can place the remaining blossoms into your field. And if you meet the requirements for one of those abilities, you can take that action as well. And using these abilities smartly to control the colors of the blossoms behind your screen and in your field is critical to that final scoring. When the bag is empty, the game is over and the scores are tallied. Scoring for blossoms behind the screens is done by majority. Red and yellow score together and light and dark blue score together. Players score points based on where they rank in those color combos. White and black pieces kind of count as wilds, but players have to decide which pair they match with before the blossoms are revealed. Scoring for the blossoms in the field aligns to a pretty straightforward scoring grid, but it's important to note you have to have at least 3 blossoms of a color to avoid negative points. And the player with the highest overall score wins. Hitohira is gorgeous to look at and fun to play. The art by Hunayoko really enhances the player screens and that lovely draw bag. The blossoms appear to be flower-shaped beads that are quite sturdy and work really well for the game. Now, the gameplay is really simple, but there is a nice amount of depth to it in the way that you have to manage your field and push your luck to try to get those abilities. Personally, I can think of few better ways to celebrate spring than to play a game of Hitohira on a blanket underneath a cherry blossom tree. See you next time.
Well, spring has sprung, and what better way to celebrate spring than by animal trivia? Fauna.
An amazing game by Friedman Freeze, a trivia game about animals. You have to guess where they are in the world and how big they are and how big their tail is and all kinds of fun things like that. And it's one of those trivia games where you don't necessarily always have to get the right answer. You just have to know who knows the right answer and guess close to them, and you get points that way as well. Let's check it out.
The board for fauna is large and has 2 sides, one for the metric system and one for imperial measurements. The top half of the board contains the world map, while the bottom half provides space for measurements of weight, height, and length, and tail. Game scoring occurs along the outer edge of the board. The goal of the game is to get the highest number of points by correctly guessing animals' habitat, weight, height or length, and tail length. Points are earned based on a sliding scale of the number of areas for an animal, while when scoring the bottom half of the board, correct answers score 7 points and adjacent spaces score 3. Players select a card, but do not take it out of the box, for the bottom half of each card reveals the answers. Each places a cube in turn until all the players are finished guessing or are out of cubes. You pull out the card, examine the answers, eliminate wrong answer cubes, and score and return collect cubes to each player. And that's the game.
Fauna is a really major hit in our family and friends. Every time we've taken it out, it's always been a hit. We've been able to take it to different places and play with people that don't normally play board games and really enjoy it.
These trivia games seem to be popping up all over the place in our collection. We have Timeline, a Timeline Challenge, which we like. We have Terra as well, but Fauna seems to be the hit of the house. It's the one everyone loves. Who doesn't love animals?
What's great too is that all ages can play this game, from little kids with a little bit of help to seniors, and you can enjoy it with all ages, various education levels. The animals are ranged from the obscure to the found in your front yard.
So definitely check out Fauna. It's an amazing trivia game, fun for all ages, as Rebecca said. And I recommend it highly to anyone who loves animals.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
For today's Quirky Game, we are taking a look at China Moon. In China Moon, each player represents several frogs. and you are using your frogs to hop from lily pad to lily pad, gathering lotus flowers in order to make the most beautiful bouquet that you are then going to gift to a sad mandarin duck that shares your pond with you. It's a very sedate, very attractive theme. The game definitely looks very beautiful, and right away there's a couple of things that I think you're going to find that are quirky or at least unexpected. For one thing, the designer of this game is Bruno Fedudi, who is known for games that have a lot of cards, a lot of take that, a lot of random powers, and this game doesn't have any cards. It's a board and some tokens, some figures. And the game looks like a family-style game. And it is. You could play, certainly, this with your whole family. Kids, adults together, that would be fine. But it is certainly a very mean game because in this game you are allowed to move your opponent's frogs instead of your own. And so on your turn, you could hop one of your opponent's frogs ahead, land somewhere that is inconvenient for them, and force them to drop a flower, force them to swap a flower with someone else, and various other things. The game, while a very simple design, certainly can lead to hurt feelings, especially with kids that are not used to this sort of thing. So be aware of that. It's a very simple race game. The board, as you can see here, is rather attractive. And the game is over really quickly. It's a short game. You could even set up and play again if you feel like it. But I usually do play just once because someone tends to walk away grumbling under their breath because, well, they got picked on severely and they're not too happy about it. But I enjoy the game. I think it's beautiful. I think it fits the season well. And if you are playing with folks who are okay with being mean to each other and landing on spots that are going to hurt you, then I think you're going to dig it.
Everyone, happy Blender, and we are doing a nature-themed episode to celebrate the equinox, and this one was a no-brainer for me. Almost half of my games have something to do with nature, and it might have something to do with me growing up in the middle of the redwoods, but I love when nature is introduced into games. It's got so much going on and so much you can draw into a game about nature. So some of my favorites, little filler game called Sun and Moon. It was also called Sky Tango. This is just a tiny little filler game, but you have little sun cards and moon cards, and you're trying to kind of take that and build up and bank points. But what I love about this game is that you have to pay attention to the art, because if you see birds or butterflies or whatever, you get extra turns. So animals in the art matter. Just a little something. But one person I really love who designs games with unique themes is Stefan Feld, and when he goes for nature, he always has a really interesting spin on it. So you have things like La Isla, which is a very light game, but it's a scientific approach to animals and cataloging, whereas something like Bora Bora is so evocative of a beautiful island chain with the big chunky dice and bright colors and trees, and you just kind of want to join up and go off into the islands after you play. My favorite, though, and by far my favorite nature-based game, is Lagoon from Three Hairs Games. Lagoon is a 2 to 3 player game that was on Kickstarter a little while back. Happens to be fabulous. You play as a druid and you draw on the powers of this earth, trying to kind of find a balance within one force, because the world's a little mixed up. And the way you do that are introducing new hexes. You start the game with 3 hexes out, and they all have a different color identity and different powers. So on a turn, you can introduce new hexes to the board. You can move around the hexes. You can flip the hexes. You can, you could get more guys out, and it just has so many decisions. And for a small little 3-player abstract, it's got a great scoring system. You're basically putting out those different types of energies into the world and betting which one will dominate the board and doing the best you can in that one. Really beautifully done, and the art is there's no words. It's so stunning and so perfect. And there's made up beasties and druids and landscapes and trees. And it's just so beautiful and perfect that I wish this game got talked about a little bit more, but it's a little harder to sell in abstract, especially one that is so deep, so much strategy in this game. I love it, and I love the version I had from Kickstarter with little wooden disc pieces. I can't recommend it enough, and I hope I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Welcome to Boards and Crafts, a place for quick tutorials of snacks and crafts inspired from games, board games, and all about board games. Spring is here, and one of my favorite hobbies in spring is gardening, and one of my favorite games inspired by gardening is Takonoko. So today I'm going to show you guys how to create some bamboo-inspired pots. Let's get started! The supplies that you need for this project are a terracotta pot, acrylic paint, and some painting supplies. The first thing you'll need to do for this project is paint the lower part of your pot light green. I ended up creating my shade by mixing 1 part blue and 1 part yellow acrylic paint together. After this is dried, which should be really quick since terracotta soaks up the paint, you will need to paint all of your detail with a little bit of a darker green. I ended up adding a little bit more blue into the paint that I created earlier in order to create my shade. And that's it! If you guys have any ideas for tasty treats or creative crafts inspired by any of the games mentioned in this video, comment below or tweet them at me at ArtsyRobot. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you have a great day. Spring is here!
Hey guys, Tiff here, and today we're talking about spring themes. Unfortunately, springtime generally means a bit of a lull for my middle school board game club. Some of the kids are involved in spring sports, and others are just so happy it's not freezing or snowing they just have to do something outside. I can't blame them, but for the ones that do keep coming, I try to use this time to introduce games that are a little more complex and outside of our usual family game fare. And the springiest one I could think of is called Waggle Dance. Waggle Dance from Grublin Games is a bee-themed worker placement game for 2 to 4 players. As you might expect, the game requires you to build up your hive, get more bees, and collect nectar, all in an effort to produce honey. It has some awesome quirky artwork and bright colors that really evoke the spring theme. You start the game with the day phase, in which each player rolls their 6 starting dice and then places them one at a time. Since these dice are your workers, the numbers you roll with them will determine exactly where you can and can't place them on the board. I love that they went with custom dice. These have honeycomb-shaped pips and a bee for the one side. Very thematic. When you place your dice, you have to choose between placing them on a tile in your hive or on one of the action cards that make up the game board. There are 7 possible actions: adding a honeycomb tile to your hive, placing an egg, hatching an egg, collecting nectar, trading nectar, making honey, or finally drawing a queen bee card, which gives you special abilities. Once the players have placed all of their dice, the day ends and the night phase begins. Starting with the A card, everyone resolves their actions. Some of the actions are straightforward, but claiming nectar is a little different because the payout is based on which player has a majority of worker dice on a flower. There are 6 different colored flowers, each with their own corresponding nectar cubes, so you have to determine majorities for each of them. First place majority gets 2 nectar cubes, second place gets 1. If there's a tie for first, the players split the payout, but if there's a tie for second, there is no payout. So there is the possibility of some take-that interaction in the hunt for nectar. Hatching new bees and making honey are also a little different because you have to meet special conditions in order to execute those actions. For example, to hatch a bee and get an additional worker die, you have to have an egg with 2 matching bee dice on it in your hive. In order to create honey, you not only have to have the 2 matching bees, but they have to be on a tile with 4 nectar cubes of the same color. This takes some planning ahead, but it's worth it because it will allow you to flip the hex tile to the honey side, which is essentially the goal of the game. At the end of each night phase, you'll check to see if you've flipped over enough honeycombs to reach the predetermined honey target. For a short game, the target is 5 honey, generally resulting in a game lasting 15 minutes per player. The standard game is 7 honey and 30 minutes per player, and the long game is 9 honey and 45 minutes per player. Whoever reaches the honey target first wins the game. Waggle Dance is one of my personal favorite games because it makes a nice step up from basic worker placement games. You can use it to introduce dice as workers or area control mechanisms, but it's still on the lighter side. I like how the planning involves trying to predict how your opponents might use their dice, so you don't get blocked out of what you need to do. It's easy to get kids to try this because it's attractive and it has cool dice, plus the customizable playtime is perfect for their varying attention spans. If you happen to be looking for educational value, you can use this game to pique curiosity about what an actual waggle dance is. For me, that's a lot in a $30 box. I hope you check it out, and I'll see you back next time.
Hello, friends of the blend. Spring is in the air, the sun is shining, the flowers are blooming. Now when I think about spring, I think about new life. I have a game here for you. It's called Elixir, published in 1987 by TSR. This is a 2 to 4 player game in which you're a wizard trying to find the elusive elixir of life. Let me set this up and show you how it works. So this is what the game would look like set up. The first thing you need to do is separate all the cards. You need to separate all the herbalist cards, which there's 3 of them. Separate the special supplies, there's 3 of them also. Put the stranger cards right here. And separate the jewel cards. You'll also need to shuffle the formula cards, which are right here in the middle, so every game will be different because they'll be in different places. Next thing you need to do is every player is going to choose a color and also take their little matching wizard, and they start on their own colored spaces there. And then there's going to be place for your gold. You're going to get 9 gold to start out with, a place for your ingredients that you buy during the game, and potions that you brew. Now the object of the game is to find the 3 parts to the elixir of life, which are hidden somewhere here. Along with the 3 parts to the elixir of life, there's also going to be 6 other potions that you can brew that will help you out throughout the game. So every turn, what you're going to do is, if you have any potions that you have already brewed in a previous turn, you can go ahead and drink them. Then you will take 1 gold piece from the bank, so you'll get 1 gold piece every turn. And then you're going to move. You can move 4 spaces in any direction, going into any shops. The only thing that you cannot do is go into another wizard's laboratory or the healers. Now, if ever you are not in a building, stuck on the street, that's when you draw a stranger card. Now, there's 3 types of strangers. There's friendly strangers that will help you out. There's fiendish strangers that will steal things from you. And then there's strangers that you can hire to hinder the other wizards. So if your wizard is in a shop, what you can do is you can buy the ingredients and the price is listed on the card. For example, if I wanted to buy this card, I would just pay 1 gold and then put it next to my wizard here. Now, the ingredients are carried until you can get them safely back to your laboratory and then you can actually put them on your shelf, so then they'll be safe and not being carried with you out on the street. The same thing goes with the special supplies. They each have a cost, and the jewels, they each have a cost. So on each one of your turns, you can brew 1 potion. You need 3 items to brew a potion. Then you're going to roll a 6-sided dice. On a roll of 6, the potion is a success. So what you do is, if you brew the Wing of Bat and the Zee Weed, you look for Zee Weed and Wing of Bat, you pick up that card and secretly look at it, and that is the potion that you brewed. Again, you were trying to find the 3 parts to the elixir of life to win the game. Between Web of Gold, Dungeon, and Fantasy Forest, this is my favorite game that TSR put out right about that same time. Well, join me next episode where I showcase another great board game from the past. May your rolls be high.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Roy Canaday from Epic Gaming Night, and this is From Easy to Epic, where we talk about an easier game with a focus on the beginner, and then we talk about an epic game with a focus on advanced play. This week on The Blend is all about springtime and things growing and pastel colors. So this week, our easy game is going to be Takinoko. Takinoko is a 2 to 4 player competitive game where players are trying to complete objectives to gain points. Players will have to place out plots, grow bamboo, and use the panda to eat bamboo to complete the 3 different types of objectives. On each player's turn, they will roll the weather die, take the special ability that grants, and then use your 2 actions to either place new plots, irrigate, move the farmer, move the panda, or gain a new objective. The game ends when a player has collected a number of objectives depending on the number of players, and then whoever has the most victory points wins the game. Takinoku is a great family game where you're trying to manipulate the board to fulfill your objectives by moving around the panda, eating bamboo, and moving the gardener to try to grow the bamboo to fulfill the different objectives, and get the first one to complete your objectives to end the game out. It's a lot of fun for families. So if you're looking for a pastel game with growing bamboo and gives you that springtime feel, check out Takinoko. For our more epic of a game, we're going to be talking about Tail Feathers. Tail Feathers is a 2-player competitive tactical miniatures game where players will be playing on the side of the mice or the rats, trying to defeat different victory conditions depending on the scenario setup. Players can either choose their armies using a point system or use the scenario's quick play forces to get quickly into the game. Each scenario has different victory conditions that are very thematic and tell a story as you go through the different campaign scenario. Each turn, players will choose a mission, tilt their birds, activate each unit. This includes combat between the units, and then in the final phase, they will reveal their missions and complete them. One player will win the game by fulfilling the special victory condition depending on the scenario or by destroying their opponent's nest. Tail Feathers is a ton of fun. Each player builds their own army of mice or rats depending on which side they're on, and they play through these different scenarios, whether they're trying to destroy their opponent's nest or control the middle of the board or rescue mice or recover plans. There's all sorts of different epic scenarios and stories, and the game comes with different levels of rules. So there's a lot of optional rules you can play in the game to make the game go from super simple to a lot more complicated, to make it much more epic of a game. But the models in the game look great and amazing, and when you have birds with nests and there's trees everywhere, it just feels very much like springtime. So if you're looking for a awesome, different tactical miniatures game with these cool pivoting birds and beautiful models, make sure to check out Tail Feathers. This has been From Easy to Epic. Make sure to check out our podcast at epicgamingnight.com, and we'll see you guys next time.
Springtime is here, and I've been thinking about games with flowers. There's actually not that many games. I've been having a hard time trying to find a designer who comes with flowers as a theme. So I decided to go with someone who has one game about flowers and a whole bunch of other really good games that I like, and that is Carl Chudik. Let's talk about his flower game first. That's called Flower Fall. Now this game's just pure fun. You're literally taking cards, dropping them onto the table, and it's just a purely fun game. If you've ever been to Board Game Geek Con, you've seen Tom do Flower Fall from the upper deck of the balcony and dropping them all the way down the giant staircase onto the floor. Now that makes the game even cooler, I think. So Flower Fall is a nice little fun, light game. It's something that you have to try at least once. But let's talk about his games that are phenomenal now. First, he came up with Innovation. Innovation is just a wonderful, wonderful game. Innovation is about tech building. It really brings that civilization aspect. You splay your cards out so you get more powers, and you're competing against other people. You're using the powers to fight your opponent or multiple opponents. I personally like it best in 2, but I think it works just as well with 3 or 4 players. It's a wonderful, wonderful teching up power game. Another one of his games which I really also like is Glory to Rome. Hail Caesar. And in that one, you are using powers to build out a city to get more cards or more city cards to get points from them. So you're going to build as I say, it's got a latrine. Latrine is the best thing. Any game having a latrine is good. So you could build a latrine, you could build a statue, you could build all sorts of things. You could build a university. When you build all these things, you're collecting bricks. So you can build your bricks underneath, and then when you take the bricks, you can build them. You also can do different things with them, and you could use powers or copy someone else's power, and it's a very, very, very good game, Glory to Rome, which he made a slightly different version called Uchronia as well, which is dinosaur themed instead of ancient Roman themed. Another game of his, Red 7, amazing little card game where the rules change and you always have to beat out the next person in order to stay in the game. So you're always trying to make the best rule for your hand of cards to have a better set of cards than everyone else in the game. Just well done. He's a very, very good designer. And that is my designer spotlight for this week, and that's Carl Chittick.
There, baby, there.
Hello there, friends of the blend. As always, I'm Ilya.
And I'm still Alina.
And today we're taking a look at Ed Merritt's Scoville.
Scoville is all about gardening. You plant peppers, you harvest peppers, you sell them. You try to crossbreed peppers to get the hottest ones. And you try to combine different sorts to make the most delicious recipes.
And Team G has surpassed themselves with the amazing components. You have the Thai chili sauce, you have another chili pepper, you have all sorts of peppers, la chinata, I don't know what it is, but just a lot of components came in this box. But to be honest, components in this box are amazing. The board is amazing with the holes inside where you can plant. The peppers themselves, the wooden peppers, are just amazing. All is great. And as always, very clean design, easy rules, easy iconography. I just love the presentation of this game.
Meet your Uncle Bob and Cousin Jim. The main focus of the game is crossbreeding. You get these kind of breeding charts that shows you which sort of peppers do you get by combining other peppers. But it's actually quite intuitive because it follows the regular color rules that yellow and red gives you orange. It's actually quite unique because I can't think of other games that is using this kind of mechanic.
Yeah, to be honest, my goal of the game is to crossbreed that phantom pepper.
I'm coming, baby pepper, I'm coming!
In my opinion, the coolest part of the game is planting peppers and moving farmers. So the board is shared, so whatever you plant can be used by anyone. And the other cool feature is the farmer movement itself, where you want to collect as many peppers as you can and collect the peppers you want and need. And the extra from there is that you will end up on the spot from where it is most beneficial for you to start in the next round. And another extra is that you want to block other opponents' farmers with yours. So there's a lot of layers and thinking in these two mechanics. That's just mind-blowing and great.
What the banana! For all my effort! You must be kidding me! I like that the Scoville is pretty simple game, but it gives quite different gaming experience. And this is actually first game for two of us where farming theme is actually really cool.
Yeah, and all the mechanics, they flow so naturally. And you have many tactical and strategical aspects, strategy of planting your own peppers and moving farmers, and tactical aspects because board is ever changing because of the others planting and moving their farmers. So there's a lot to this game. So that's Scoville, a great, great game. Thanks for watching, and we see you next time.
And may the games be with you. Ma. It's hot!
And that wraps up our Spring Has Sprung episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to all my contributors, and please come on back in 2 weeks where we're going to be talking about Civ games, Civilization. I'm calling the episode Be Civilized. Come on back for that and check us out. We're going to be talking about all sorts of Civ games, small ones, large ones, complex ones, simple card ones. We're going to give you lots of variety there. So as always, thank you again, and hey, stay a friend of the blend. I'll see you.